I'm bringing sexy back. It's special, it's behind your back. So turn around.
Hello you dirty potters, how are you today? Today is kind of a mess around episode. Long story short, usually in between the selling of my stuff on my website, earthnationceramics.com, I have a little bit of free time to like restock my stuff. This is probably like 2 out of the 3 shelves of stuff that I have ready, and then I have a separate shelf behind that because I like to rotate my stuff out. But in between, I get a little bored and a little bit itchy for the creativeness sometimes, so I end up taking commissions on the side that I don't usually open up with. I don't take commissions all day long. It's just kind of like little secret commissions on the side, you know? My mom gets a hold of this sometimes and goes, "Hey boy, I heard you got some free time over there. How about you, what's up with a pot?" I have these 2 really big pots here that are both as big as my head. This is a commission from my friend Alec. He wanted 1, but a good commissionee always makes double just in case one comes out better than the other, or one ends up breaking, as I might do if I keep handling them like this. Those are actually the smallest ones. The bigger one is a vase that my grandmother wanted that is like this, right? And I thought it was a very nice form. I wanted to make one of these, kind of a smaller neck, bigger body form. The trick to this one is that I want it to be a little bit special for my grandma. So I kind of made like an altered form on the wheel. This is kind of a squeezed in form that you're probably not gonna see for a little bit, or we're not gonna go over this in the channel for quite some time. This isn't even the biggest one. Just let me go get my magnum dom. This is probably the biggest thing that I can fit in the kiln right now. It's probably about 2 feet tall, and yes, it's already bisqued. None of this stuff is greenware. I have to glaze all of this very soon, which means a lot of the shrinkage has already come out of it. So technically speaking, this was like this big when I first threw it. But I have to put all of these things inside of my 1027. And because of that, I'm using all the little space in between to test a lot of glazes that I wouldn't usually have room for. For example, I'm not firing my entire 1027 kiln with these 2 little bowls just because I want to see what a glaze comes out as. But these give me an excuse to load the entire half of my kiln, because I have half shelves just for this reason, to one side, and then the other half can be just full of tests, right? Or I could put stuff on the bottom and let these be on the top, because it's easier to put bigger stuff on the top of your kiln. That being said, this video is just gonna be that. There's a bunch of glazes and glaze tests that I want to mess around with. I need to put the notes on glazy.org. I really need to put these down and cement these down, because a lot of these glazes have been here for like a month and they're just sitting there and I have to remix them. So that is what today's video is about. It's purely just messing around with the glaze combinations that I've either made or have, but I need to know what they come out as, because if they come out good, then I can either build upon that knowledge, or we just have a new color for the shop. So let's get going. Okay, so firstly, I have to take notes, because if I don't take notes, I'm not gonna remember what I put and where I put glazes in XYZ. So I'm gonna line up the where over here, and we're gonna put notes to go with it over here. Fortunately, I've already thought of some things that I could do with these glazes, and I've kind of written them out. I remember one time I put like notes that were like this, and I couldn't remember what they meant until like one of my followers, Heather, told me like, this is what they mean. I couldn't read my own notes. Some of these are also my own glaze recipe, which I will put on Glazy at a later time, especially if they come out really good. If they come out horrible, then don't worry about it. But if they come out really good, then I'll probably put them on Glazy so that you all have the recipe. This one here is going to be my Majin Buu pink along with oil spot red. This one here is going to be my Lumos along with, see, this is, I can't, what is SP? What does SP stand for? Oh, spearmint. This should be a nice melty green. The difference is that I need to see what happens with the nice melty green and another meltier glaze that I have. This is going to be Randy's red with a couple of layers of the oil spot red on the top. I don't usually mix a dark glaze with a dark glaze. I need to see how it usually looks on a contrast so I can see the color difference very easily. But I saw a picture of somebody who posted like Randy's red and oil spot red just heavily, thickly applied at the very top, and I want that. I want it so bad. because I've been trying to make my feet a little bit more tapered in and smoother and elegant. But now I made a slope there, so I can't grab onto it. There's no friction. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll work. Oh, yes. Yes. I have the finger strength of a teenage girl. Okay, so I think this is all the stuff that I'm willing to fit inside the kiln with all those big things that I named earlier. I'm also gonna do a couple of like glaze review videos, so I think I can fit those in as well on their own shelves. But as far as we're going right here, this is like a lot of new glazes and glaze combinations that I have never tested before. So this first one up here is my Majin Buu's pink mixed in with my oil spot red. I really want to see if that's a good combo because I think oil spot red has some good potential, and I just developed that glaze. This over here is that modified spearmint green glaze with some of my Lumos. I just want to see if it has an effect, but mostly the bowl is mixed in that spearmint green that I modified. This over here is Randy's red and oil spot red. The difference is that the oil spot red is heavily layered up here, and the rest of it is just Randy's red with one coat on it, right? So technically speaking, whenever you dip, one dip every second is a coat. So 1, 2, 3, pulled it out, 3 coats of Randy's red, and then technically speaking, there's like 5 or 6 coats of oil spot red on this. This one over here is that spearmint green glaze, but it has June Perry's purple in it. I'm really interested to see how this comes out because they both have chrome in them, and I wonder if they'll either cancel each other out or just make the entire cup super like pink or chrome colored. This one over here was the most interesting to me because I think I figured out that the glaze on top of this mug when I first pulled it out, when there was like no glaze down here, was Randy's red. So what I did is I put an experimental glaze on it that I have a lot of hope for. I think this is a really good glaze. Okay, we're all set. Put your comments down below to see which one you think is the best one that'll come out. I have bets on like this one and this one right here. These two up here are the ones that I'm really hoping will come out nice, but I think this one has some potential. So I'm gonna put these in the kiln and I will see you in 5 seconds, but realistically I'll see you in like 3 days. Okay, and here's the thing. We placed them in order, right? But I'm gonna forget where I put them in the kiln. So I need to take these and place them exactly how I did in the kiln. So this bowl, this bowl, this bowl, and these two essentially went right here. So we need to place these in another place so I can remember which one is which. And 5 right here. Okay, so now when I open that kiln over there, I'm gonna have to look over here and be like, oh, okay, so the first bowl at the very top left is this, second bowl is this, third bowl is this, and then the 2 mugs must be right here. I know this seems silly. I know, oh, I'm so sorry. I know this seems silly, but I sometimes forget where I put stuff in the kiln whenever I experiment with them, so this is an easy way for me to remember, is to just put it on my tester kiln. Okay, so we're gonna look at these one by one. This one up here is my Majin Buu's pink with oil spot red on the outside. And I wasn't too impressed with it, but I am happy to see that my Majin Buu pink is working out pretty well. Let's take a look. There's nothing really too special to see here. This was just a test, and I thought the oil spot red would do like wonders on pink. I thought like red and pink, you know, they're kind of in the same vibe, they do great together, but no, it just kind of came out with like brown and pink. But I am happy to see that my Majin Buu pink is doing fairly well, and a lot of people are using it on glazes, so at least I know it works. This one over here is Lumos on top of that new green glaze I was testing. The green glaze actually surprisingly came out really well, like really, really well. But the Lumos had no part in that. It's just the glaze itself came out amazing. So this is technically a glaze that came from a book that I modified for my own uses, which means that I have to put it on glazy and I have to put in the notes like, hey, this is spearmint green, but then I have to rename it. So I think I'm gonna name it Laogai Green after Lake Laogai. Only the real ones know. There's lots of particulates in this green here, but that's okay. I knew that going into it. So these aren't naturally part of the glaze, these little dots you're seeing here. That just means I didn't sieve or filter it enough, to be honest with you. I am really interested to see this right here. This is some of the lumos with the green. And I don't know why it makes this purple here. I'm guessing because of the chrome inside the green. But that's not normal. I don't see that very often, so I'm gonna do some more experimentation with that. That being said, I am gonna put this recipe on glazy as well. For now though, it's gonna go to the left because I don't need it anymore. This is probably the one that I was most disappointed with, if I'm being honest with you, because I saw a picture on glazy that was like somebody put a bunch of red with this oil spot red and it came out so good, If I can find the recipe and credit the person up here, I'll put it for you, but if not, I'm super sorry I even mentioned it because now you're disappointed. This is Randy's red with a stupid amount of oil spot red on the top. And it seemed to not like each other. Like you can kind of see over here. That it kind of rejected each other. And everywhere else on the bowl, it didn't really combine into anything new unless you look at the minor spaces up here. And this little minor space here, in which looks really nice, if I'm being honest with you, kind of looks like Randy's red anyway. Like those are the colors that I get no matter what I do with Randy's red. The outside kind of looks the same as well. The outside looks really nice in some spots, but the high majority of it just kind of looks like it's too dark for its own good. This one's just going to be noted down in the book as like, don't do it anymore. I know it seems super weird to note that down, but every now and then you're going to get like, oh, what if I mix these two glazes, only to look at your notes and go, oh, I've already tried that, I hated it. And then you just waste time, glaze, and effort. So it's good to mark down your failures as well. I mean, I don't mark down my failures, but that's just because I technically have them on video here. I watch them back. Now this mug up here is really interesting to me because I've been trying to make a glaze that looks like a hyacinth flower for a very long time. And I got really close. This glaze down here is the experimental glaze. And if I remember correctly, as I reach for my notes with my other hand, this glaze should have 4.5 rutile and manganese dioxide at 2%. I always call it my Hail Mary because I test these and then I randomly put in a chemical just to see what it'll do at the end. But I get really curious and I have an extra cup laying around every now and then. So I ended up just putting it on this cup right here. And it ended up looking okay. Just to take notes from this, this is the original glaze, the smooth pink, Majin Buu's pink. And this is what that turned into with this amount of rutile and manganese dioxide in it. This turned out fine. I don't mind it. I really like this color. I think the difference is that I expected a much brighter red to go along with this pink, and it just didn't do that. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna keep this. I'll probably put it on the website store because there's somebody who probably likes this type of hyacinth pink. I think this is a success as far as that I learned something about the rutile and the difference in between this amount of rutile and manganese dioxide and this amount of rutile, that being 1% and 4.5%. There's very clearly a texture difference, or at least a color difference in the texture. So that way I can kind of see like, oh, some brown right here, a little bit of blue right here. Okay, so this does something. I just didn't do enough of the something. Inside the cup so I can mark it down for glazy later, and we put it to the side. If I can put a little bit more rutile or maybe some manganese dioxide in there, maybe it'll turn a tiny bit darker blue. And that way I can really get a brand new glaze out of it, name it myself, put it on glazy for other people to use. Here come the glaze train. Choo choo.
Oh my god.
This is why I seem so excited at the moment, because this is the reason why I did this entire kiln load. I was really testing that pink to see if I could make a hyacinth, but I got this beauty out of the kiln load.
So beautiful.
It's really weird that I got this out of the kiln load because I was just messing around. I in fact really don't like the glaze June Perry's purple. And I also was just messing around with this green glaze, which I have now named Laogai Green, even though it's technically another glaze that's been modified. But as long as you give ode on glazy, like let them know this isn't my original glaze based recipe, it's somebody else's, I just modified it. This is that experimental green glaze, but with June Perry's purple all over it. It looks like a glaze you would call Monster Mash. Look at the bottom, hold on. Look how the bottom colors meld together. It's almost like they separate, but they're also part of the same matrix. I love it. I love it so much. I can now start making mugs and bowls and cups and things of that nature of this color to sell them on my website. That being said, I'm a little more excited. We're gonna put this in the winners pile over to the right because I decided to test that same glaze on 2 more bowls just to see what would happen with my old spot red, because I was like, oh, black and red and green, you know, they would look cool together. Those are some cringe colors. You know, like people who like wolves and dragons and they make their PlayStation name like the Dragon Slayer 69. But I also got these 2 beauties out of the kiln, and these surprised me. This is gonna be a glaze combo for me from now on. This is that modified experimental green glaze with oil spot red at the top of it, and look what it made.
I'm bringing sexy pride. It's special what's behind your back. So turn around and don't pick up the slack. See these shackles, baby, I'm the slave. I'll let you whip me if I misbehave. It's just that no one makes me feel this way.
And I always like to test my stuff 2 times on the same clay body, just in case. You know what I mean? Because if you get one thing that's amazing and you're like, oh my god, it's amazing, and you test it on something else and it comes out horrible, then you're like, what happened? So I like to test it out on a second pot just in case. And this one came out just as good as the first one with the same results, same green, same kind of oil spot melt, everything. And I'm super in love with this glaze combination now. I'm pretty sure that this is gonna stay in the gambit of glazes for me for quite some time, to be honest with you. You know what I was talking about, all the other glazes? I was like, don't do that, this sucks. This is gonna go in the do that, it good suck pile. So you can see, even at this level right here, that the green has a really nice melt to it, but it wasn't so thick, or it's not so opaque that it gets rid of the lines whenever I decide to carve. It also plays really nice with one other glaze, which is fantastic. It makes a glaze combination. So this is like 3 out of 3 what I was looking for. It's the reason why I decided to modify that glaze. It was too dark green for me, it didn't have enough rutile, and I wanted a melty green. It didn't have that, so I just decided to change it myself. This is one of the benefits of learning how to make your own glaze. You can just take a glaze and be like, I don't want it to do that anymore, I'll just make it do this instead. And it turned out fantastic. Well, thank you, Dirty Potters, for joining me today. I just wanted to show you how I test some of my glaze combinations, and sometimes I get really lucky, like this. I'm glad we caught it on camera. The key now is that I have to go to glazy.org and like put it down on notes so that other people can gain knowledge from it, put it on my blog, put it on my website, decide whether I'm going to sell these on my website or not. There's a bunch of steps that I have to put after this, including making my own notes. Because if the internet ever goes away for some strange, you know, government reason, then I have like my own paper notes that I can call back to keep making my artwork and keep passing that knowledge down on everything but the internet. So there's a bunch more work that has to be done other than just showing you pretty things on camera. But thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you liked this episode. I love you, Dirty Potter phases. Remember to click all the YouTube buttons so my overlords are happy, and I will see you, Dirty Potters, next week.
Thank you for your patronage.
I'm gonna wait for my neighbor to stop revving his motorcycle because his pee-pee real small, so he has to make everybody know in the vicinity that he louder in order to compensate. Small pee-pee energy.